Hello everybody, welcome to this YouTube video. My name is Grace. I'm so excited to talk about the conversation that we're going to have here together. I am outside, so hopefully you can hear me and the wind is not too bad, but I'm really enjoying this more relaxed style of filming where I can just be where is most comfortable for me. So today what I wanted to discuss is timelines and how and why we might have an idea of a specific timeline. And when we know a timeline, it can sometimes be, distorting or makes us feel impatient because we want something or we know that we're going to get something. We just have to do this action and take this path and follow this lead in order to get to such place. And this reality, this density level that we're in, we do have the insight of higher and lower timelines, and we can kind of pick and choose, and if you are aware of where your trajectory is going. And also when we follow our intuition and our higher selves and our highest timeline, we may know where we're going to end up. And there is this process of slowing down, of having to follow your human body's evolution to get to that point. And I think that this is very prevalent, especially in the earlier parts of your spiritual journey. And as somebody in my early 20s, I'm 22 years old, it's very funny and frustrating because all of my spiritual friends, my colleagues, these women I look up to, these men I look up to, they're in their 30s or late 20s, and they have these things that I know I'm going to end up having, or they have these they've matured enough in their evolution and their human experience to get to such and such place. And it's interesting as a younger person to have an idea of what you want to be, have an idea of what you want to do, and to have a soul say, in your soul that you're meant to do something, but you can't piece it together yet. And in this awareness, there has to be so much forgiveness, because in our early 20s and in our mid 20s, we're meant to fuck up. We're meant to try things and fail. We're meant to not really know what we're meant to be doing, and we're supposed to try things, right? That's what everybody says. But I think, and this is such a specific frequency, but there is an intensity that follows somebody who chooses the spiritual path, because you have an idea of what you want to do and where you want to be, and where you're going, and there's an intensity that follows with that, because nobody can really relate to that, and there isn't a specific process, an equation to get there. There isn't a specific school that you have to take or a specific degree that you have to work on. You have to evolve inside of your own maturity level. And of course this is true in all ways, that's just the evolution from child to daughter to maiden to mother. It's kind of what people talk about. And same for the man, you're not just going to be a leader as a child. So when we're waiting on the timeline, it can be frustrating, and I just want to show up in this video to let you know that you're not alone if you can feel this timeline, and that you're on this timeline, and that you have to wait, and you have to kind of suffer and go through the purging and go through the changes and the shifts and be aware of that, and allow this human evolution to occur so that you can be and show up at your highest self in the authentic way that you're meant to. And the beauty of these lower dimensional realms and these lower density levels and this human experience is that we're asked for patience, and we are asked to continuously show up as we are. And that is the process of being a young person, being a teenager, being an adolescent. You're meant to try things, and you have to be patient within how and when it happens for you. So examples of what you might be aware of in your spiritual journey in your young 20s, if that's where you're at, or your mid 20s or your early 30s, whatever, is that you might have an idea of, you know, a career that you want to be at, a career that you want to hold, and it might be super foggy and confusing and you don't know how you're going to get there, and there's no specific formula to get there, and you really just have to wait for this human maturity, this human evolution to occur so that you can end up at that point in time. And that is patience, and that is, you know, this spiral and this evolution that has to happen. And, you know, we can be aware in the higher timelines of where we're going to end up and how that's going to look and how that's going to feel. And it can feel dense and heavy to sit where we're at, but that's why we're at this place in time. That's why we're in these human bodies, is to process that, to process this slowness and experience these lower realms where things aren't, you know, happening instantaneously when we want them to happen. Like, it's such a gift because we're asked to soften and slow and be present with what we have right now. Similar with money, if you're struggling with money and you know the abundance codes that you have in the future, you know the abundance codes that your body can gift you and that your life is going to gift you, and you have to be patient with where you're at. Similar with like psyops and, you know, mechanisms and like all this confusing government shit that, you know, you might be aware of as a young adult and you don't really have much control over. You know, we have to be a part of groups, be a part of communities, be a part of friend groups that really want to make change or really want to be aware of stuff, even if it's uncomfortable. And that too has to evolve over emotional maturity. It has to evolve inside of your personal experience. Like if you're sensitive, if you are in tune with yourself, you're not just going to jump into a shark tank. Like, you have to be so easeful with what you bring into your life and how it's going to affect you and how you're going to be able to approach that appropriately. And it really is just this waiting game and this patience of, I see that, I honor that, and I give myself the grace and time and patience that it's going to take to really dive into that, to really take that head on. And, you know, I'm using the example of a young 20-year-old because that's where I'm at. But also this can be a truth in your 30s, your 40s, wherever you're at in your evolution. There are things that we need to allow to crack us open so that we can be integral and be honest and open with ourselves and how we receive that. Because the other thing is that we have to be slow, because when people force their way into knowledge, into initiations, into situations that they don't know how to handle and they can't regulate themselves inside of, and they are confused inside of, it's just a mess. Like, you're not serving anything truly. You're forcing your way through something that is not honoring the human experience and this human evolution of your soul, like what your soul came here to experience in its own time. And I do believe that there are things that keep us at a slower pace, and there are things that quicken our pace, and that really ties itself into, you know, our intuition, our gnosis, if we're honoring our situation. Like, I could be brutal with myself and be like, nope, I want to be here right now and I'm going to force myself through it. But because I'm so incredibly sensitive, it's like I literally just get disassociated. I can't process, I can't cope. So my body is very informative of like, no, that doesn't work for us, and we have to slow down. But for some people who really just push through, they're going to get to that point, and they're not going to have the tools or the understanding or the evolution of their mental, emotional, and physical body to really be able to be a leader in that field, or to be able to take on that information and make a change. So, yeah, within this video, I invite you to be soft with yourself. I invite you to witness the timelines and just honor where you're at. Because when you know, it's such a gift, it's such an allowance, a part of this human experience that is like tricky, because knowing can be painful, but knowing is also such a massive gift, because we don't want to be in ignorance. We don't want to be in disillusionment. But when we know, we don't always get to act on that knowing. Sometimes we have to sit with it and allow it to change us within, inside out, and then show up in our external field once we've allowed it into our field and allowed it to make us who we need to show up to be to enter that space. So don't wish you were older. Don't push and force that initiation. Allow yourself to be where you are. Allow yourself to honor, you know, this place right here, right now, where you are literally mastering something that is far and few between. Like, far and few people will be able to master what you're mastering. And you have to be so gracious and self-respecting within that. So I thank you so much for watching this video. I thank you so much for being here. And I honor you and I hold you in your divine becoming. And if you liked this video, if it was supportive for you, please give it a like, please subscribe. And I will catch up with you soon.